Since 1873, students and alumni of color have been making history with their knowledge and expertise on the campus of Syracuse University and in the world. As undergraduates, many have been pioneers in creating student clubs, organizations, school traditions, and the development of university programs and departments. Hi, I'm Ben Green, class of 2008, advisor to the Friends of FSU alumni group. Listen to our podcast about students and alumni making history past, present, and near. It's called FSU, Our History is Here. Peace and blessings. This is Ben G, Mr.RNB. Welcome to FSU, Our History is Here. I have two alums who, of course, attended Syracuse University. In our conversation today, we're going to talk about a particular building on campus that does have a herstory and a history. And these gentlemen were a part of that history, amongst many things that were happening on campus while they were attending there. We're talking about, now they call it 119 Euclid Avenue. That's the formal address, but they know it as Beebe Cottage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the program, Oliver Quinn, Charles Ramont Woods. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves and tell me, what year did you graduate from Syracuse University?
Oliver Quinn, class of 1972.
Yeah, I'm Brother Ramont, Charles Woods, class of 1972.
Good. Now, gentlemen, let's talk about this place they call 119 Euclid Avenue. In September of 2021, it reopened to the campus as a place for student awareness, really awareness of Black student life on campus. And now it's a meeting place. They have rooms. They can have events there, come and chill out, almost like an African-American student, what do you call that?
Union, like a Black student union.
Right. So that's what that is. But after doing the history, this is what I found out that I want you guys to tell me, what was it to you while you were in college? If you didn't know, the hall is called Beebe Cottage, named after Minnie Mason Beebe, right? Born 1865, and she passed in 1955. Who was she? She was a writer, world traveler, faculty member of an alumna of Syracuse University, class of 1890. She was a member of the sorority Gamma Phi Beta, and she had her honors through Phi Beta Kappa and Phi Kappa Phi. So she came with intelligence, the woman during that time, and she did her thing. She was married to the Reverend Theodore O. Beebe. She married him after graduation. She went off to the University of Zurich, and she studied history and French. It wasn't until 1900 she took a position at Syracuse University as for history and French. She did that for about 10 years, 17 years. Then she moved over to the College of Liberal Arts, where she taught history. She studied there for those many years, and then she retired. She wrote French grammar books for schools and universities. She was active in the community under the Faculty Women's Club, the YWCA, and the National League of American Pen Women. She was also a member of the Psi Epsilon Women's Club. So they bought that building in 1938 for a mere $8,958. Back then, I think that was a lot of money. Because you know, houses now, $300,000, $400,000, you know? So that was that. Somewhere along the line, the university created this building and made it a place for students of color. Gentlemen, tell me, when did you discover Beebe Hall or Cottage?
Well, let me, this brother Vermont, let me interject here because Oliver really has a lot of the details on that. But thank you for that history, man. Who knew? You know
Right.
what I mean? Who knew about Beebe, Miss Beebe, you know?
She was fierce.
But when I arrived on campus in 1968, in those very turbulent years,
Yes.
we met with, I went to my first Student African American Society meeting, and they were being held in a a World War II prefab building that was right next to the campus security.
Gotcha.
And us being very socially aware and it being very turbulent times, we were, that was a questionable meeting spot. The other black freshmen, we had some questions about some of the goals and the way things were being run and what the goals of the SAS was at that time. And subsequently, we started meeting up on the mount at one of the lounges up there, up on the mount, up all those stairs, right? And we formulated the Freshman Action Council. And Oliver Quinn was our president and our leader. And if I remember correctly, out of that activism and that interaction with the university itself and members of SAS and the professors that were like-minded, I imagine.
Yeah.
But out of that activism, I think that's when we acquired Beebe Cottage as a meeting place. Oliver?
Right. I don't remember the number of black students in our class, and it was black and Puerto Rican students. There may have been some other Latina students, but the ones that I recall were Puerto Rican, and we coalesced. So when we make reference to black students at that time, we're talking about black and Puerto Rican students.
Exactly.
Whatever the number was, we were the largest contingent that had ever come into SU at one time. Whatever the number was, it was paltry compared to what's coming in now. But at that time, it was significant. And so we got to campus and we went to the SAS meeting and we began meeting each other. And we were not pleased that there was one black fraternity, Omega Psi Phi, and they didn't have a permanent meeting place. As Vermont said, SAS was meeting in a prefab next to security. There wasn't a Shine Center at that time. So but even if there was a Shine Center, we wouldn't have been comfortable there. The university was hostile towards us at that time. We were the largest contingent that came there, and there were people who felt that we were damaging the brand, that we were bringing down the standards, that we were there on some special tip and were taking seats away from other people. And at that time, they weren't shy about letting those sentiments be known. So we would have incidents where somebody would be walking across campus and some guys from one of the white fraternities would start shooting BB guns at us. Woo! And the cops would come and take us to the security office. I remember being in the gym where I probably spent too much time, but I was in the gym one evening and the security guard, the campus policeman came and walked past like 4 courts of people playing and came to me asking me for my ID card.
Wow.
And I told him I'd show him mine when all those people who we walked past showed him theirs. And, I wound up in the security building.
Whoa.
It was near where SAS was meeting. That was the tenor of the time. So our class just decided that we weren't having that.
We're fed up.
And we meant no dispersions with regard to SAS. We just felt that they were there, and this was what we found, and we wanted to organize ourselves. And so we created this Freshmen Action Council, FAC.
Yes.
And we put together a set of what we called demands. And we went to the university. We were freshmen.
Sure.
You know, we were still trying to figure out
I know.
how to get from one side of campus to the other. But we weren't satisfied. And there was just something about the people in that group that was very active. Some of it, I think, was the times, Vermont. There was so much going on in the world.
Yeah.
And the university was a microcosm of that.
Right.
And we went with a set of demands that included more Black faculty,
Sure.
you know, more courses related to our history and culture. But we also wanted a meeting place or house for Omega Psi Phi, even though we weren't in Omega Psi Phi. We were insulted that the only Black Greek organization didn't have a permanent meeting place. We wanted a cultural center, and we wanted a social center.
Sure.
And we wound up coming out of those negotiations with 3 buildings. One on South Krause that we made into a social setting, a social building, the precursor of a student union,
Right.
Black students. The building on Walnut Street that was the
What a
cultural
Walnut.
center.
Yeah.
And that's where the Black Voice was published. That's where the Martin Luther King Library was established. That's where we held church services on Sunday mornings. That's where the singing group, which was the precursor to the Celestial Choir, used to practice and perform. And we used to bring musicians, and we also had our own musicians like Vermont, Phil Clendenin and Bruce Robinson and all who played there. And the third building was Beebe Cottage. And Beebe Cottage, we wanted for ourselves, for our class.
Yes.
We were an active, arrogant group of young Black students.
You were positive. Pro.
And we hoped that we would evolve into SAS, but we weren't sure, and we wanted to have our own place. And the university gave us Beebe Cottage, and we did not know who Beebe was. I don't think we ever had one discussion about the name because we got the building.
Right, that's the main one.
And we used to meet there, we used to study there, we used to party there, we used to do everything there. That was the home space for the Black freshmen at Syracuse University in the late 60s.
Absolutely.
That is very interesting because, you know, when I came onto the campus in the fall of 1977, the Office of Minority Affairs was 104 Walnut. That's where, like you said, they had a King Library of books, you know? It wasn't the full establishment. That was there, the Black Voice, and they had counselors of color for students who came in, you know? Like our peer counselor type thing. So that was that. So I'm glad that still was there, but
by the way, we didn't want at that time, we didn't want the Martin Luther King Library to be part of the university library system because we wanted to have control over what books and materials were in the library. And if we became part of the university library system, we would not have had that control. But we did learn, the people who were putting it together did learn how the library cataloged books.
Right.
We put a whole system together that mirrored the university library, but we chose not to become part of the university library system because we wanted to retain control.
And I'll remind us who worked on that out of our...
Kathy White was the leader, but Gloria Harley was involved, Natalie Lehman was involved, Alfreda Kenny was involved, and everybody chipped in. Joseph Clore used to contribute materials. We all would be assigned to build shelves and stack books and do whatever. But Kathy White, my recollection is that she was really the leader of that.
She coordinated a lot of it. I mean, most of it, really. Yeah.
We've just been joined by Mr. Joseph Clore, I just want to let Joseph know we're talking about Beebe Cottage, and I was telling Brother Oliver about when I got there in fall of '77, how 104 Warner was like the slash cultural center, a place where students of color can go, Met Counselor, and MLK Library was up there, the Black Voice and things like that got produced out of there. So, but he was giving me the great insights about who did what while they were there, which is awesome. Because when I went there, I could look, you could see things that were stacked there, put here, that hadn't been touched for a little bit, that had been left. So I knew there was history, and I often inquired and tried to find out who could tell me.
Maybe Joe can unmute and introduce himself since we're recording.
Joe, tell us, Joseph, tell us what year did you graduate and some exciting things.
Joe,
you're on mute.
Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, hear me now? I'm sorry.
Welcome.
Joseph Clore, class of 1972, started Syracuse in September, I think it was 5th, 1968.
That was it.
Wow.
You cover, wow. How much have you covered Beebe Cottage already, 119?
We just started talking, so
okay.
Give us your perspective.
Okay, interrupt me if I'm repeating something, but got it through Les. I was involved in that original process when you met with Les Dye, he was I guess director of admissions at the time, and he was our contact for the Freshman Action Committee, FAC, and he helped us get 119 Beebe, and that was the original Black student-owned, controlled building. Okay, and then I guess after that we went to 911 South Cross.
Oh, that was the place that we're talking about.
Right. We didn't remember the number, but yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
In South Cross, and then I guess right around that time or shortly after, we gained the Cultural Center.
Right, that was all negotiated. You know what I mean?
Right.
And one thing Oliver reminded us of was that Beebe Cottage was our freshman classes' basic base.
Yeah. That was us. The class of '72, we did that. I mean, I'm not trying to diss the older classes, but another aside, Eddie. Well, I guess I forgot what name he uses now, but Eddie Brown's. I guess he was mentioning the article about the library.
Right.
Yeah, Eddie Brown and from class of '69 and class of '70, I'm sure they had the original ideas.
Right.
But Kathy White took it and ran with it.
Yeah, you guys completed and made it something.
No, she did. We all chipped in, but she was the spearhead on that.
Kathy White.
Kathy White. She's still in Syracuse, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah.
She was class of '72 also.
Right.
Yeah, I found out that when I spoke to Ed, he was talking about how he didn't he and the guys helped to come with the thought process, putting that together, and he left one book and say, look, this is the start, and then Kathy came in, like you said, from you guys talking to me, Kathy had the foresight to see what it can be.
Right.
That's what it became. And you guys helped to build that solid foundation.
Well, Kathy was great with me because I had a lot of subscriptions and books I wanted her to get, and she got them all.
Wow.
It was very.
Now was Willette, was she involved in that? I don't remember.
Thank you, Willette. That's the one I interviewed.
I don't remember. I know Jackie Coachman was.
Yeah, I tried to get her on the call. She couldn't make it, but she sends her regard. Jackie does,
Yeah, because Willette was one of the students one of the alums who I spoke with when I was looking for people to interview. And I was asked, has anyone, made history? And she was like, she was one of a few students who came from Newark, New Jersey, on a full ride to Syracuse University through the Boys and Girls Club.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yep, she was telling me her story. And then, unfortunately, she was telling me Well, she told me about, and Oliver, you cleared it up, you and Ramon, about how you guys were treated. You know, and Oliver and Joseph also cleared it up why you came up with the Freshman Action Council about the things you weren't happy about. She mentioned that, but you just gave me even more clarity of why there was so much angst at that time, you know?
Yeah, it was a very hostile, it was a hostile environment.
Yeah, because you came
so
there
we got together as much out of a sense of wanting to survive as for any kind of sophisticated political strategy. We needed to stay close to each other,
right,
to cover each other, because we were in a hostile place that didn't hesitate to let us know that they didn't think we all belonged there.
Oh yeah, I heard. Willette Gibson, that's her name.
Yeah, well,
Right.
Right. Her maiden
That's her married name. That's her maiden name.
Yeah, her maiden name was Hunt.
Yeah.
And remember, she had a friend.
Yeah.
Lenny Brazil. She was from Newark also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, another thing which is interesting is that I just thought about this. We had to meet each other by hook or by crook. There
Right.
was no organization on campus saying, all right, bringing all the black students together. We came in as freshmen. Fortunately, Ramat was in the I was in Watson West 0. Ramat, you were in West 4, right?
Yes.
And then Albert, you were in Abrams.
I was in Abrams with Tony Bonilla.
Yeah.
Abrams?
Yeah.
Abrams. I was in Abrams Cottage across from the women's building.
Or right across the street from Beebe Cottage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the point is, there was nobody directing us. We just, alumni, I met you in Newhouse at some kind of meeting, remember? And then we just had to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started,
That's the way
sister.
There were a number of sisters who lived up on a mount in
Right.
Bay and whatever the name of that other hall is. And Abrams, we used to get our meals up there. So Tony Bonilla and I were always up.
I lived in Day Hall too.
But we all, and so the circle started spreading, but it was done of our own doing. The university did nothing to bring us together. There was nobody there to do it.
Right. You had to sit down and work out place to place, where to meet to come up with these concepts so you can pull together that student faction, huh?
And that's why we wanted Beebe Cottage.
Thank you.
Because that was our space. We had control. We didn't have to schedule. We didn't have to go through the university. We had the keys. Right. And we decided what the rules were going to be and how the building was going to be used.
Who had on to the keys? I forgot. You did?
I did, because I lived in Abrams, which was across the street.
Right. Wow.
That's my story anyway. That's my story.
Well, my story, I'm sticking to it.
53 years ago. 53 years ago.
Wow.
That's right.
So tell me this. So you're telling me, as freshmen, you brought this together and they opened the house to you as freshmen?
Yes.
You didn't have to wait 3, 5, 6, 10 years?
We didn't have to wait a semester.
Yeah.
Out of here.
Because like we said, we were not pleased with the what was being espoused by the SAS.
Right.
With all due respect, and we started meeting up on the mount. We had our meetings up there, and out of that came, as Oliver mentioned, a list of demands that we were able to confront or project to the university, and we won.
So let's freeze this moment for a minute. If you didn't know, right? History repeated itself in 2020 on the campus of Syracuse University. Do you remember, excuse me, the students then who protested?
Yeah.
About things? Same exact things that you were protesting.
Really?
They were fed up with, and they stayed in this hall and they protested, and they had a list of demands. And they were like, we're not leaving until we meet with the top people to make sure that you clarify and make life better for students of color on this campus, because we're not having it anymore.
There's something else.
Yeah.
We had to do that by ourselves because there were so few
Right.
black faculty on campus, and almost no administrators that I can think of. Now, aren't there quite a few on campus now? Where were they? Couldn't these students go to them and say, "Hey, look, this was happening"? What
They did.
And
They had a couple of professors, and people who stood behind them and said, "Yeah,
all
you
right,
guys need to listen to the students," and that's what made them sit down and negotiate and negotiate and negotiate. And when they brought some little bit of things to them, they were like, "Oh no, this ain't good enough."
what do they want? What do they want? What are their demands?
I wish I had the list, but as a friends of FSU, we backed them. We asked them, "What is it that you want?" So we all wrote letters together, presented it to an administration, and told them we stand behind the student because of A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
And because of that, guess what came back? 119 Euclid Avenue. That's why it opened up in September of 2021. But it just about, think about it, now in this time, the same type and exact reason what you guys were protesting.
Wow.
And they created the office of, go ahead.
You go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And from there, they created the Office of Inclusion, culture, so that they made sure that within the university, there won't be any turning of the heads. When people say, "Hey, we're being treated like crap," people of color, culture. So now they have that. And I'm going to interview the lady who, of that office, who is in charge of Beebe Cottage, AKA 119 Euclid.
Okay.
But she didn't know a lot of the deep history. And I told her, I'm going to be interviewing you guys, and I'm going to get a firsthand story about, what did they do there? Why did they go there? You've just experienced a very important and intricate look at the history of students of color at Syracuse University during the fall of 1968. Oliver Quinn, Charles Ramont Woods, and Joseph Clore were freshmen who came together and organized a group of concerned students who weren't happy about the way they were seen and being treated on campus. They then took on the administration, and after a meeting, they were giving Beebe Cottage as a secure place to organize and plan events and just about be safe at home. Continue to listen and watch this special edition of FSU Our History is Here podcast, Beebe Cottage, 119 Youth. Episode featured the following music: Too Shy from Groovin' with C-Jack, now available on C-Jack Run Records worldwide, on music platforms via hyperfollow.com/C-Jack Run Presents. Sense of Purpose by Holizna. FSU Our History is Here podcast is now available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, and is a presentation of Another Benji Production 2022. Log on to www.officialanotherbenjipodcast.com for this and other featured podcasts.